Police in Richmond busted a massage parlor last night. They say it was being used for illegal activity. The Fuji Health Studio on South Porter Drive is now closed.
2 people are in jail. 3 others were cited. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has more on the arrests from Richmond.
2 people were brought to jail Thursday night after police had conducted a thorough and very lengthy investigation that resulted in a lot of information on exactly what was taking place there at the Fuji Health Studios on South Porter Drive in Richmond. The 2 arrested are Shaze Jin and Alicia Young. They're facing a bunch of charges, including promoting human trafficking and prostitution. Police say they received a lot of complaints, and they started an investigation that resulted in numerous hours of surveillance.
So when a client would come in, they would have to actually push a door buzzer to be let in. All their transactions were cash transactions, and then they would be led to a massage room, and from there the other acts would happen.
Fuji Health Studios is now closed. Now, along with these 2 arrests, they also cited 3 additional people. They are facing some charges of promoting prostitution and practicing therapy without a license. Madison County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And according to court records, Jin had recently been charged with human trafficking in Nelson County. He was given a conditional 2-year discharge as long as he did not have any more violations.